Welcome dear students to the second part of our chapter Inside an Atom. Let's talk about the fundamental principles of the atomic structure. Now what do you mean by this? Now it means what are the different parts of the atom, or what are the different constituents of the atom? What is the atom made up of? So your atoms are made up of nucleus and extranuclear part. Now in the nucleus you have two things. You have protons and you have neutrons. Your protons are having positive charge and the neutrons are having a neutral charge. Okay, they do not have positive charge or they do not have any negative charge, so they are called as neutral. And in the extranuclear part means outside the nucleus you have electrons which are present, and the electrons are having a negative charge. And we also know that the number of protons is equal to the number of electrons in an atom. Next, we look at what is the meaning of subatomic particles. Subatomic particles are the same thing, the constituents of the atom. What are the different constituents of an atom? So your atom is made up of three important particles, that is protons, neutrons and electrons. Now out of these three, the protons are positively charged and are shown with the symbol small p. The neutrons do not have any charge. They are not positive, they are not negative, they are neutral, and they are shown with the small letter n. And finally you have electrons. The electrons are negatively charged particles and they are shown with the small letter e. Now let us look at what is atomic mass or atomic mass number. Now you will realize that the mass of the electrons or the weight of the electrons is negligible. It means that it is very small. So even if we consider that the mass of the electron is 0, it will be fine. So whenever we are doing any calculations, we do not consider the mass or the weight of an electron. Now atomic mass is denoted by the symbol A, capital A. What is the meaning of atomic mass? Atomic mass or atomic mass number is just addition of the number of protons and number of neutrons inside the nucleus. So you just add up protons and neutrons, and the number that you get is called as the atomic mass, or it is called the atomic mass number. Now what is atomic number? Atomic number means the number of protons or the number of electrons present inside an atom. You already know the number of protons and the number of electrons is always equal. So we can either consider number of protons or we can consider the number of electrons. So that is your atomic number. And atomic number is shown or denoted by the symbol capital Z. Now let us look at atomic mass number and atomic number. Now let us consider an atom X. Okay. Now it is just an example we are taking. Suppose there is an atom X. In that case, how do we write the atomic mass number and the atomic number? Atomic mass number, which is A, is written towards the top of X, and your atomic number, which is Z, is written towards the bottom of X. So if we take an example of a helium atom, in a helium atom there are 2 protons and there are 2 neutrons. Okay, so the atomic mass number becomes 2 plus 2, which is 4. So that is how A is equal to 4. And in helium you have 2 protons or you have 2 electrons. So that is how the atomic number, or Z, is equal to 2. Next, we look at the distribution of electrons. How are the electrons placed around the nucleus of the atom? Now, the electrons which are present in the atom, they are not just present anywhere wherever they feel like. They have a fixed position. So inside the atom, if you look at that first part of the diagram, you have that blue colored part which is shown, the blue circle. That is your nucleus, which is containing your protons and neutrons. Okay, now outside the nucleus you have those red circles which are drawn. Those circles are called as the orbits, or they are called as the shell. So you have how many shells in that particular diagram? There are 4 shells which are shown, 1, 2, 3, 4, and below that you have alphabets written K, L, M, N. Okay, so your first shell, shell number 1, is called as K shell. Shell number 2 is called L shell. Your shell number 3 is called M shell, and shell number your fourth shell is called as the N shell. So like this you can keep giving names to your shell. And in the diagram below, if you see that red circle, that is your nucleus, and outside that you see the electrons which are present. The electrons are present around the nucleus, but you don't see electrons just placed anyhow. Okay, you see that the electrons are very nicely placed around the nucleus. Now in the first shell, or in the K shell, you will see that there are 2 electrons which are placed. In the second shell, if you count, there are 8 electrons placed. In the third shell you have 18 electrons placed. Okay, so that is the maximum number of electrons which can go in that particular shell. So if you look at shell number 1, only 2 electrons. You cannot have 3 electrons in that shell, only maximum 2. In your second shell you can have maximum 8 electrons. We cannot have more than 8 electrons in the second shell. In the third shell we can have a maximum of 18 electrons. We cannot have more than 18. Then after that, if you continue further, in the fourth shell you can have maximum 32 electrons. We cannot have more than 32. Okay, how are we deciding how many electrons can be present in any shell? There is a particular a formula which is required to calculate the number of electrons, and that formula is 2n raised to the power of 2. Okay, or you can say 2n square, where n is your shell number. Is it shell number 1? Is it shell number 2? Shell number 3? Shell number 4? Like that. Which shell number it is, that is your n. Okay, so when we use this particular formula, we see, if you look at that table correctly, we see that in K shell, which is shell number 1, we can have maximum only 2 electrons. In L shell, which is shell number 2, we can have maximum only 8 electrons. Next, in shell M, which is your third shell, we can have maximum 18 electrons. In N shell, which is the fourth shell, we can have maximum 32 electrons. So this is how the number of electrons can be calculated. Now if you look at this diagram, dear children, you see that there is a solar system which is drawn, and you also have the structure of an atom which is drawn. Now if you look at it closely, you will see, or you can try to relate it like this, that the sun is like the nucleus of the atom present right in the center, and around the sun you have the planets which are revolving around the sun. So it is very much similar like the electrons which are revolving around the nucleus in the atom. Okay, so if you have to consider, or if you have to imagine how does an atom look like, you can always refer to the structure of the atomic, you can always refer to the structure of the solar system. The atoms also look very much similar like the solar system. Next, we look at valence electrons. What is the meaning of valency, or what is the meaning of valence electrons? Now, the electrons present in the outermost shell of an atom are called as valence electrons. If you look at the diagrams which are given, there are 4 atoms which are given. First hydrogen, second nitrogen, third fluorine, and fourth magnesium. And if you look at the last shell, okay, in hydrogen you have only one electron present in the last shell. Okay, there is only one shell over there, and in that shell there is only one electron present. So the valency of hydrogen is 1. If you look at nitrogen, in the last shell there are how many electrons? There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 electrons present in the outermost shell or the last shell. So the valency of nitrogen is 5. If you look at fluorine, in the outermost shell or in the last shell you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 electrons which are present. So the valency for fluorine is 7. And if you look at the last diagram, magnesium, if you can check for yourself how many electrons are present in the last orbit or in the outermost orbit. Yes, you have only 2 electrons present. So the valency of magnesium is 2. Now, why are we looking at the valency of atoms? Why do we want to know how many electrons are present in the last shell? Because these electrons are very important, and these electrons play an important role in forming chemical bonds. I already told you in your previous video that atoms come together and formed molecules. Now, how are these molecules formed? That we will be studying in our next chapter. But right now just understand that for the formation of molecules, you require the electrons to be getting connected with each other using chemical bonds. So that is why these valence electrons are very, very important. Next, we look at isotopes. Now, isotopes are variation of the same element having the same number of protons but different number of neutrons. What is the meaning of this? Now, over here there are 3 atoms which are given. All the 3 atoms belong to hydrogen. Okay, but in the first atom there is only one proton and only one electron. So this particular atom is called as a protium. In the second diagram, you have one electron and one proton and one neutron. Okay, so that is why the second atom is called as deuterium. And in the third diagram, you have one electron, one proton, but you have 2 neutrons. So this atom is called as the tritium. So although all these 3 atoms are hydrogen atoms only, but since they have different number of neutrons, that is why they are called as isotopes of hydrogen. Now, what is the importance of hydrogen? Why are these isotopes so very important that we have to learn about them? That is because isotopes have very special properties. They are very, very powerful, and they are used for a number of things. For example, uranium-235 is an isotope which is used in nuclear fission. In the previous chapter we had something about nuclear reactors, wherein a lot of power is generated in nuclear reactors, a lot of electricity is generated. So in nuclear reactors you have uranium-235 which is used for nuclear fission and for the production of electricity. Then another isotope, cobalt-60, is used for the treatment of cancer. Another isotope, iodine-131, is used for the treatment of dangerous diseases like goiter and thyroid. Isotope sodium-24 is used for detection of cracks and leakages of underground pipes. You must have seen when constructions of roads are going on, then there are large pipes which are put underground, for carrying water from one place to another. But how will we know if those pipes are fine, if they are not damaged, if they are not having cracks, if there is no leakage anywhere? That can be found out with the help of isotope sodium 24. And finally, you have carbon 14. This isotope is used for determining the age of archaeological objects. Now, what is the meaning of archaeological objects? These archaeological objects are very old objects, or you can say very important objects, which were living objects which were present many centuries ago. For example, the fossils of dinosaurs. Okay. Now, how can we say that dinosaurs were present millions and millions of years ago? That is because with the help of carbon 14, the scientists could understand the age of the fossils of the bones of the dinosaurs which we found buried deep under the earth. Okay, so this is how isotopes are useful for a number of things. With this, dear students, we come to the end of this chapter. We have already finished with the notes, so I expect you all to learn the chapter well, and we will have a small revision in the next class. So till then, stay safe, stay happy till we meet again. Bye, students.